Welcome back, shooters. In October of 2016, I uploaded a video talking about how you can clean your black powder flintlock rifles. Thank you all for watching that. That's like 15,000 views on there, which shocked me. I never think it would get 500 views. But a viewer recently reminded me that I talked about taking the triggers apart on the gun and cleaning them and put that back together. And I had forgotten about that until he mentioned that, because I don't take the triggers out of the gun but maybe twice, 3 times a year, because it really isn't necessary. But tonight, since he requested that and I said I was going to do that, I'll take the triggers out of this Pedersoli Flintlock while I'm cleaning it up. I'll show you what I do to clean it up and put it back together. Okay, here's what we'll do. First thing I'd like to say is I don't need to be in the video to show you what to do. I learned the hard way that this screw here and these screws back here need to have the correct tool to take them apart, because I stripped this one here. I've put another one in it before. So the first suggestion is get the right screw to take this one out, because this one is a little bit tough to get loose, and it should pop right up when you do that. And then, of course, get the back one also, which is nothing more than just a wood screw that holds this thing in place. Now, as you get it apart, what I always do is leave the parts into it and lay them aside so that it all stays together and you have an idea how to put it back together. So the next move I do is this screw right here. Really only 4 screws holding this thing in together. Lay this one aside. And then as you flip the gun over, there's a big tying bolt here on the top. And when you take this one out, it allows the trigger mechanism just come right out. As you can see from looking at it, this one does have a lot of powder on it, because it's been a while since I've really cleaned it up. And that's why I wanted to wait till now to do the video. So what I simply do here is I put a little bit of water on it, which let's do this here so you can see on the camera what I'm doing. A little bit of water on it, and just scrub it with a brush. Pretty simple. Get all the powder out of it I can, because it is all over it right now, because it's been months since I've taken this thing apart. Dip it into the water and clean it up that way. And that's pretty much all I have to do, and let it dry afterwards. Some of the times I'll just let it dry, or I'll just blow dry it in the winter time with a hair dryer. Doesn't really matter. So now that all the powder's gone, let's take a little bit of this Hops number 9 oil, and I put in all the little moving parts. Just a little bit. Don't need a whole lot on there. Just enough to make it moist, because my dad always told me that oil is always cheaper than parts. So I've always remembered that for 40 some years now, and that's what I'll do. So let's get it back together and show you what to do there. Let's show you what we do to put the gun back together. Drop it back down to the slot here, like such. Fits right in there pretty good. And you take the one screw that's right here that holds it in place. Keeps it in place good. And like I said, use the right screwdriver for the job. But put this one in place to hold it in its location. Next thing I do is I take this piece and I just leave the screws in it and get it started back in the spot. Now I put this first one in over here first, because it kind of bounces into it when you get it tight. Once you get that one started, and then this other one is pretty easy, it just pops back into place and tightens it up like this. Now this is the tip that I learned a long time ago that I want to tell you about here to get this tightened up. Is to put the tying bolt back in here, cleaned up a little bit, drop it back into place. If you tighten it down too much, which it took me a while to figure this out. I bet went crazy when I first got this gun. figuring out how to get it to work. Let me get the lock back in here. Just got the lock cleaned up, so we'll just put it back in here. Get the screws into it. As such, just 2 little screws holding in place. This is what I'm talking about. If you have it too tight, when you pull the cock back, it won't stay in place. See? It just keeps on going. Won't lock back. And that's what was driving me crazy. And I couldn't figure out for the life of me what was making this thing do this. So I decided to loosen up this tying bolt a little bit. Give about a whole turn. Now check at the bottom, be sure it's still in place. But when I do that, then the lock, got to go back a little bit further and adjust it around a little bit. Now the lock stays in place. So that was my biggest problem when I first started. Is I had this bolt too tight. I pulled the trigger up into the sear bar of the lock, and it wouldn't allow it to stay cocked back. And that was my biggest problem. It like to drove me crazy. So you have to adjust this around a little bit. If I tighten up like that, it still stays locked in here. So that was the biggest problem I had when I first started, and it's trying to keep you from having problems with your Kentucky Pedersoli when you take these triggers out to clean them up. So there you have it. Basically, only 4 screws holding this particular one in, and I have to remember that if it's too tight with the tang bolt here, where your lock isn't coming back and locking, sometimes they just trip on forward without you pulling the trigger, then it means your tang bolt's too tight. At least that's my experience. So anyway, I've got this one adjusted just right, and works just fine. I'll leave a link to the gun cleaning video that I was talking about a few minutes ago in the description below, and this one will help you clean it also and get it straight so that you are out shooting again like I want to be. Thanks for watching, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.